Hey everyone, in today's video, I am going to be showing you how to build your own flexible perch that you can utilize in your bird's enclosure, maybe on their jungle gym. The really fun thing about this is that it is super easy to clean. It is super easy to customize. You can basically build this as long as you want. So if that's something you guys are interested in seeing, make sure to stick around because that's going to be coming up right after this. Guys, this is Jack over at Hi Redbird, where I am tirelessly working to find new ways to make the keeping of exotic animals and pets more exciting, more affordable, and ultimately more enjoyable. In today's video, I wanted to show you guys how to build a flexible perch. We all know it's really important to provide our birds a variety of perching. The fact of the matter is there is no such thing as one perfect perch. Instead, our birds benefit from having a wide variety of perching. We want to make sure that there are different textures, different diameters, different angles. All of those are going to promote optimum foot health. Remember, they have a lot of options in the wild. We want to make sure that they have a good amount of options as well. So in today's video, I wanted to show you guys how to build a flexible perch. We are going to be doing this out of the PVC electrical conduit that we use to build an orb. We used it to build a swing. This is actually a scrap piece of that conduit that I still have left over. So I didn't have to really buy anything special to make this. It is out of leftover pieces from other things that I have built. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind. You want to make sure that when you buy parts for things, when you're buying lengths of PVC, when you're buying this electrical conduit, think about what all you want to make out of it, because chances are really good when you've built that one big ticket item that you're really excited about, you're still going to have supplies left over. Maybe with just a couple of fittings that you purchase when you go to the hardware store, you can build something else that you really like as well. So my question for you guys, is there anything in particular that you are really interested in me showing you how to build? Today we're doing a flexible perch. We've done straight perches, PVC perches. We've done all manner of swings. If there's anything in particular you want to see, leave a comment down in the comment section below, but let's go ahead and jump into building this PVC perch. All right, guys, so there are just a couple of materials you'll need to put this perch together. The base of this perch I am using is PVC non-metallic electrical conduit. It's a wonderful, flexible piece of PVC. Now, this is actually a scrap piece that I have from building another project, but if you don't have a scrap piece, if you need to cut this down, you are going to need a way to cut it. I recommend ratcheting PVC cutters, but something as simple as a hacksaw will cut through this. Now, this is 1/2-inch PVC conduit. Pay attention to the diameter of your conduit because you are going to need corresponding fittings. For each perch, you are going to need 2 fittings. We are going to add hardware to these, and I'm going to break the hardware down based on each fitting. So if you wanted to make more than one, you'll know how many pieces of hardware you need for each end cap for each perch. We are going to need 1 machine screw. We are going to need 1 nylon threaded locking nut. We are going to need 2 washers, and we are going to need 1 wing nut per end cap that you want to put together. And we're going to need at least 2 end caps for every perch. You want to make sure that your hardware is all stainless steel, and there's a couple of other options that you want to make sure you're paying attention to. You want to make sure that the nylon threaded locking nut and the wing nut both match the threading of your screw. You want to make sure that the shaft of the screw can easily fit into the center opening of your washer, but you want to make sure that the wing nut and the head of the screw cannot easily fit through that. You want to make sure that the length of your screw is enough that all of this hardware will fit, but it won't be sticking out excessively to catch clothing or anything like that from the outside of your bird's cage. For the purpose of this, I am going to be using 1.5-inch screws. You do have a lot of options here. You just want to make sure that you follow those guidelines to make sure all of your hardware will work together. Now I'm going to need the ability to tighten this down. Since this screw has a Phillips head, I need a Phillips screwdriver, and then I need a wrench to hold the nylon threaded locking nut in place. I am going to be using PVC cement for this to secure those end caps really well. And I am also going to need a drill. I want to make sure that my drill bit is just a little bit larger than the shaft of the screw, but smaller than the head of the screw and the nylon threaded locking nut. I basically want it to fit through the PVC fitting without falling through completely. So the first thing we're going to want to do is build out our end caps so they can accommodate all of our hardware. And I'll let you guys know right now that this is the hardest part of the entire project. So once you are done with this, it is smooth sailing. Now, end caps are going to come in a variety of shapes. Some of them will be flat at the end. Some of them will be a little more rounded. For this, I'd like the flat caps because they're a lot easier to drill into. Just make sure that you take your time, you're being safe. It's very easy for an end cap to slip as you are drilling into it. You guys will notice I have that scrap piece of lumber. That way I do not drill a hole into my dining room table. I would probably get yelled at if I did that. Now I do want to make sure that I am removing all of those small bits of plastic that come from drilling into that PVC end cap. Ingestion hazards are a big deal for birds. I am just using the rough part of my thumb to go ahead and remove all of those little bits. If you do not have that, you could always use something like a rasp or a piece of sandpaper. Now I'm going to go ahead, take that machine screw, load it through from the inside of that end cap, and then I'm going to put my nylon threaded locking nut in place. For me, the easiest thing to do is to hold that nylon threaded locking nut steady with the wrench and then use that Phillips head screwdriver to tighten it. One thing I will point out, you guys will notice there is a sticker on this end cap that I am going to have to remove. Always make sure that you're cleaning all of your materials and your parts on this before you give it to your bird. You also want to make sure that you hand tighten this, because if you try to use a drill to make it a little bit easier, it is entirely possible to over tighten this and crack your PVC end cap. Now, once you are done with this, you can go ahead, apply your 2 washers and then your wing nut. The bars of your bird's cage will fit in between the 2 washers. So 1 washer on the inside, 1 washer on the outside with the wing nut to hold it tight. And once you've built one, it was so much fun. Let's go ahead and turn around and do it again, because we are going to need 2 of these. But the good news is I think you guys know how we put this together. So here I just have the second one that I built. And again, the same way, the 2 washers and then the wing nut. Again, building these end caps is the hardest part of this. Now, I say when you build this perch, you need at least 2 of these end caps. And the reason for that is if you wanted to get really wild, really creative, you could get a T-fitting and an additional piece of this conduit. And you could work all of those together. For every end, you basically just need a fitting, somewhere for this to secure to your bird's cage. Here we're building a really simple perch, but you could definitely change this up and make a T perch where there's 3 different connection points for your bird's cage. The more connection points you give yourself, the more weight this will be able to hold, the longer you'll be able to make this perch. Now, using that PVC cement, I like to apply it only to the inside of the fitting. That means that when I push the PVC conduit into that fitting, I don't have to worry about creating a bead of PVC cement on the outside. That conduit is going to push any excess cement into it. Make sure that you do give it a good push. Sometimes you need to give it a little bit of a twist, but that really is all there is to that. Just make sure that you protect your surface because this PVC contact cement will stain. All right, so as you can see, that was incredibly straightforward. Real-time building of that perch, once you've compiled all of your materials, is only a few minutes. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to use it right away since we did use that PVC glue, and I highly recommend using that PVC glue to help hold it together, especially if you're building anything like this flexible perch, like that round swing we built. If it's not having all of the weight of the bird pushing on one spot that pushes those fittings together, like we did with our PVC stand, I recommend using the PVC glue, but you do want to wait at least 24 hours for that to cure. You certainly don't want to try to put this together, have that glue still be wet. If your bird jumps on it, causes it to snap, but there's still wet adhesive in there, that could potentially stick to your bird. That could be an issue. You definitely want to make sure that you clean this really well. The good thing is a perch this size, I can fold like this, I can pop right in the top rack of the dishwasher. I have done it before, and which is probably what I'm going to have to do to get this residual glue off of the ends of these end caps. Now, I definitely recommend trying to clean your end caps, make sure that your pieces are ready to go. Because if you don't do that, what could happen is you'll say to yourself, oh, that's going to be super easy to remove. I can just scrub that glue off with the little brush at the sink. And because you've now built this giant, flimsy, flexible perch, as you are sitting there scrubbing this, you may end up inadvertently whacking yourself in the face. In theory, I most definitely did not do that. But it could happen. So just think about those things. We always want to make sure that we're paying attention to safety, not only the bird safety, but your safety as well. But the really nice thing about these, normally when you see a flexible perch, they're going to be covered in like a cotton rope or a sisal rope that can be a little bit more difficult to keep clean. This is incredibly easy to keep clean. And because of the ridges on the conduit, most birds have no problem gripping this really easily without any added texture. If you wanted to add a little more texture, you could, of course, wrap it in something like vet wrap. You could take something like a gouging bit on a drill, a wire bristle brush, just to rough it up a little bit more. But you probably won't need to do that. This is an incredibly easy project that I definitely encourage you guys to try out. So if you guys liked this video, if you found this tutorial instructive, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. It definitely helps me get this information out to people that could use it if you give this video a thumbs up. If you comment, if you liked this video, if there's something else you guys would like to see, leave a comment. That helps other people find these videos as well. You want to make sure that you subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss any of these fun tutorials that I put together, because I'm constantly working on things. And there's a new video that comes out at least once a week. So you want to make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. I do need to say thank you to my Patreon patrons for helping to make these videos possible. You can find out more by visiting Hi Red Bird on Patreon or clicking the link in the description section down below if you would like more information. Thanks!